Eagles in Austria, the Olympic Sliding Center for the 1976 Winter Games, is the venue for the second race weekend of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup on a slightly foggy and potentially slightly snowy Friday afternoon. We're getting into the action from the second heat. Martin Haven and John Morgan bringing you what could be another topsy-turvy race from this Eagles track.
Yeah, Russian Yulia Kanikina. She's only won one medal in her World Cup career spanning 6 years, but she's got a great start time. And this athlete who was a former ballet dancer shows she's got a great start, and this might be her day to get on top of the podium. Kimberly Boss, well, last week she won Belgium's first medal ever in the sport. She shows that this was not a fluke by coming out with a 5:40 start and a great downtime. I'm being corrected, it wasn't her first medal, but she's in a medal position again. And they're all chasing down the lady who won last week's competition, Elena, Nikita. Well, she has the best start. She has, on a short track, she's hard to get to because of that fantastic start she's got. And she's the leader. She's got only 2,300ths lead, but some things don't change, Martin. The person with the best start is the person in the lead.
The person second had the 11th best start, and the person in third had the third best start. Janine Flock, 18th best start, 5th place, but it looks like a medal from there is unlikely. But what about a Russian sweep? We've never had one before in World Cup racing here in Innsbruck. We came close in 2012-13, Elena Nikita's first win. Maria Oliver took the bronze that day, only Noel Piker's pace between them, separating them from a Russian 1-2. And what about Jacqueline Lurling not making the cut? The last time a German man and a German woman on the same day at the same racetrack failed to make the cut in the World Cup, don't think it's ever happened before. So she and Alexander Gassner having a tough time. Elena Nikita, last week's winner, having a much better day today than Alexander Tretyakov did in the men's race. He was last week's winner as well. Didn't finish on the podium. But we had an epic finish with a three-way tie for gold in the men's race. I'm expecting, John, we could have an awful lot of changes in the second heat. There are so many close battles, and the snow seems to be returning as well.
There's just so many stories to tell here, Martin, as we enter into our second event of 8 before we qualify everybody for the Beijing Winter Olympic Games in about 2 months, and less than 2, it's about 2 months away. So start list, they go reverse. They go the last to first.
Both runs count, and every third sled we will have a pause in the track for clearing away the snow. It has returned a little bit. The slight mistiness in the air isn't too much of a problem.
Looks like a track delay. Martin, if there's any semblance of a race now that was this morning where we had 3 athletes tie for a gold medal. That was the first in my career. We've seen 3 athletes tie for 11th, 12th, or 13th. We've seen multiple athletes tie for gold or silver or bronze. Never seen 3 athletes tie for a medal. That was quite a day.
Well, yes, lots of people have been asking, has it ever happened before? And the simple answer to that is, if John Morgan doesn't remember it, no, it definitely hasn't.
I've seen a lot of skeleton racing.
And a lot of bobsled racing, and there's not a lot that you misremember, that's for sure. And, things like that, a 3-way tie. Plus, and slightly lost in that, a first ever win for Matt Weston of Great Britain. He's only done a dozen skeleton races. And a first ever win for China, the host nation of the Winter Games. So, I mean, all sorts of stories to take away from that, not the least of which, Christopher Grote here taking his second World Cup win of his career. So he now has as many World Cup wins as he does World Championship wins. And it's not often that the minor catches up with the major in those cases.
That quick. As I think ahead, Martin, last week I was saying China should win a medal at these Olympic Games because the home country's won a medal at every Olympic Games since 2002, all the way through to 2018. That hadn't happened since 56. The home country, Italy, won medals in 56, but 64, 68, 72, 76, 80, 84, 88, 92, 94, 98. All of those Olympic Games, I think 9 of them, the home country didn't win a medal. But after what we saw this morning with Gang winning that gold medal, I think it's safe to say China will medal at the Olympic Games in one of these sliding sports.
Yeah, and they've got a great opportunity in skeleton, of course. Modern skeleton only appeared in Salt Lake in 2002 as an Olympic discipline. Previously, it only appeared twice on the Cresta run, 28 and 48. Laura Dees gets our second heat underway. First start draw for her. This is her 54th World Cup race, 20th place after the first heat.
Martin, I think her only victory ever was at Altenburg in 2015, the first event of the year. And we kicked off November 14th. We kicked off that Olympic quadrennial. And then she went on. She really didn't do well the rest of that quad, and she ended up winning a bronze medal and down jumping. But you know, skeleton's about consistency, Martin. The only negative here is that she was the first one down in the second heat last week, which means she was 20th. Here she is again, 20th at the end of the first heat. So these aren't the standard results we would expect at low heats.
Well, here's something to ponder, John. From the last games, this is the Olympic bronze medalist, 20th after the first heat. The Olympic silver medalist was 21st and didn't make the cut. That's the last Olympic Games, not 3 quads ago. I mean, it's a very different track.
55, 56. You know, we've got a snow-covered track.
2600s quicker. I beg your pardon, no, not 2600s quicker at all. Nearly a second slower, yeah.
Yeah, that's 1800s difference. 8200 slower.
There is a lot of snow in the track.
And her bib number, what was that, 8?
Start draw number 1.
Hi, everyone.
First in
she
both
was number
heats.
1 in both runs.
Yeah, yeah. Same as her teammate, Craig Thompson, was in the men's race. Now, this is Li Yuji of China, a debutante, her first ever World Cup start. She has never raced here in Innsbruck before. She's been slaying it in the Europa Cup, 4 wins in the last 4 races out of 5 this season. And the 8th fastest start, a little slower, 5:42. Snow gets in the grooves at the start and slows you down a little.
900 slower than her first run. And Laura Dees was 1800 slower than her first run. So might be a little sticky up there for the first athletes. But Martin, there was 3 Asian sleds in the men's competition in the top 8. Boy, has the sport moved from being a Western European sport that the North Americans did very well in, you know, in 2002 and 6. And, you know, the North American men are dropping off, but looks like the Chinese are coming, the Koreans are already here.
Look at what she is doing to the Olympic bronze medalist, John. Just destroyed her by 0.8 of a second. Wow. This young lady, 23 years old, another one of Mark Wood's proteges. He started her on ice 3 years ago. She has just destroyed the Olympic bronze medalist from 4 years ago.
And she probably started sliding after that.
Yep, she started 3 winters ago. So this is her 3rd year.
The more skeleton I see, the more I realize the Chinese could win multiple medals in skeleton.
Yeah, as always with these, the more I see, the less I know. Or the more I realize I don't know.
Here's our protocol for the sweeping.
Yeah. Okay, well, it was scheduled to be every 3rd slider, would now appear to be every 2nd slider.
Martin, there is some roofs on this track, not in the straights. You saw those where the 2 guys are sweeping, but out of 9-10, and but the Olympic track in Beijing, the whole thing's covered. It's almost like an indoor arena, and all the athletes are raving about. There's nothing like that'll ever be built again. You know, but the
well, and that was kind of what everybody said about the Bird's Nest as well. It was money, no object. It has to be absolutely wow factor from start to finish, and it definitely, the Beijing Olympic Sliding Center definitely looks like that. Well, you can see the little battery and remote control for her heated trousers. This is Brogan Crowley of Great Britain, getting ready for her second run of the competition. 4th fastest at the start. Pretty good down to the Kreisel. Just got away with her in terms of timing. So the back nine, the front nine was good. The back nine, not so much, John.
She's probably very much like the Chinese athletes in the field. Probably just started sliding 2 or 3 years ago, Martin. But she's very athletic.
Well, she had a big pause in the middle of her World Cup career because she had a couple of years out with ankle surgery. So it's effectively a sort of fresh start last year.
Okay, she had a 5:27 in the first run. Let's see if she can get anywhere close to that. Maybe that start track's loosening up. 33. Another much slower start. And she doesn't have a lot of time to play with. She's only got 700s.
Proteges. Yeah, she wasn't far ahead. 2600s up on Li Yuxi of China, our current leader.
3,500s, best speed. Now this is where she started having issues in the first run. That was pretty good, that exit, compared to her first heat. Let's look here.
Little skinny.
Not perfect. Second best speed. She's got a lot of time to bank. 2,300s.
Lee was quicker there again. It's going to be enough, but not by much. Brogan Crowley by 1,600s. Now, 54.77 again, John, at 54.59 in the first heat. So she's much closer to her first run time than Laura Dees, her teammate.
But Martin, she was 5,600 slower, 1,800 at the bottom. We always say 100 to the top is equal to 3 at the bottom. So the difference in the start was probably why her time, you know, she was 1,800 slower at the bottom. This was her only real mistake coming down, Martin, and that's where you're still accelerating going into the speed part of the track. And, you know, that did cost her, I could say, a 10th. She's the leader.
Brogan Crowley in the leader's box as Anna Fernstedt comes to the ice. Fernstedt tied for 14th with Mimi Reniva in last week's race here in Innsbruck. And she was tied to the 100th with our current leader, Brogan Crowley. And between them and Mimi Reniva in 11th spot, that is 8 athletes covered by 1100ths of a second. 5.66 drops 3300ths to the British leader.
She's going to be 50 hundredths at the next clock, if not more. And she's a speed merchant, but boy, she gives up so much time. The Yang King track, oh, mistake there. The Yang King track, which is Yang Qing, excuse me. That track's 9 seconds longer than this track, so she's a glider. Look at the form she's got. She can come back, Martin, but I don't know if she's going to have enough time to come back on this track. Perfect lines. I mean, this is what she does. 9 second longer track, though. She could make a statement over there in China. Oh, she's coming. Look at this. She might catch her.
Very close
Half
indeed.
second down at the Kreisel.
And a 10th in front. Wow.
Wow. 1,800 slower, but that's just unbelievable. That she's
only 8.
that good
only
of a glider.
So, yeah. Well, she knows how to slide ice, that's for sure.
Well, look at this. This is a mistake here, unlike her. Little tap there up between 3 and 4. But look at the bullet form here. Look at her feet. There's a lot of confidence in that athlete right there sliding.
All right, so is that going to move her up the order? It has definitely broken the tie with Brogan Crowley. Next up, Jackie Narakot of Australia. 100th of a second is the advantage over our current leader.
7, that's 400 slower. 1000ths lead, so she'll probably grow that to 10 or 20 here because of the start. But she better be good down below, because there's 12. And I would think that 12 is not going to grow anymore.
She'll need big speed at the bottom as well.
She does have the best speed. That's a good sign for Jacqueline.
Fernstedt was 100.3 at the next clock.
Yeah,
Whoa!
This is where no,
all right.
Third best speed. Now the question is, how many sleds is she going to fall?
Yeah.
She's going to fall at least 2.
2600s back is Li Yuxi of China in third, and she is fourth. She's behind Li.
Behind Li by 400s.
Yeah. And that error.
See the mistake, Martin. The mistake must have been above Kreisel, because she went from 1200s to 1400s, then to 500. So the mistake must have been before Kreisel.
Comes down early here. Kreisel. Pressure pushes her back up out of the Kreisel. She hits the wall.
Then this is the exit of 9. This is definitely a big mistake here.
Yeah. Again,
corrected once she hit the wall, you know. Oh, still dragging there.
Thanks for watching. Next week.
Next week, a whole different ball game. Altenburg, that is a real driver's track. If this is a Hail Mary pass, Altenburg is a quarterback scramble.
Yeah, it's a different planet than here. I mean, Innsbruck and Park City and Calgary when it was, and Winterberg and Lillehammer, a lot of similarities in those tracks. But
I wonder what the Chinese skeleton athletes, John, thought. The girls were watching this morning. They thought of that finish. One of their team taking the country's first ever senior gold medal must have been a huge inspiration, I think, for everybody.
It's the sport. I mean, the IBSF is a global, IF, International Federation, and 3 of the top 8 in the race this morning were from Asia. Yeah. It wasn't like that 10 years ago. The Koreans had not arrived yet. Now we've got, the Koreans and the Asians look to me like they're going to be very dominant in this sport. And skeleton's so much easier than bobsled. It's one. The sleds are less expensive. They got their own tracks. Wow, I think 2 or 3 years from now, you're going to see the real dominance by these Asians in the sport.
So, Xiaodan of China in 13th place, and it will not surprise you to learn in another dead heat. 7100ths off the lead, tied with Tina Herman, the 4-time world champion, and Kelly Curtis of the USA. So all 3 tied exactly to the 100. And with, what's the lead over our current leader, Anna Fernstedt, with a 0.08 of a second advantage.
42 or a 43. She had a 37 in the first heat. 40, not bad. She's only 300ths off. Boy, she took a lot between 1 and 2. She took a little bit more ice than I think she needed to, but she still had the best velocity. Ooh, hard curve steer out of 3. She hit the wall. Boy, look at the lead she's got, Martin.
Yeah.
Third best speed, though, 5300ths. I don't know how she could throw it away. Down to 46. She's got a top 6 or 7 speed.
18 years old, second ever World Cup race. It's that lack of experience that is her only drawback at the moment. Look at her fly.
Gonna be close. Single digits.
At the line, 700ths. All right. She was 800ths ahead of Anna Fernstedt. She is now 700ths ahead after 2 runs. But Dan Xiao of China, I know Mark Wood will be cheering her development coach. What a great job.
Yeah. She didn't win the race down the track. She won it the first 50 meters over Anna Fernstedt. this mistake here, there's a couple mistakes in this run, Martin.
Yeah. It's only a second World Cup. And
Look,
John,
she's on the wrong side.
Last year was supposed to be her first season. She was supposed to do, you know, Europa Cup or NAC or ICC or something. She was in China. There was no international racing. But she was tied to the 100th with 4-time world champion Tina Hermann. What can Hermann do here?
55 to 58, not bad. Jacqueline Lowling did not make the cut, which is shocking. And Tina Hermann didn't do well last week. She's not doing well this week. Neither is Lowling. So I kind of think these two of the top athletes in the field are sort of sleeping, is the expression, Martin. Sort of pacing themselves to peak in February and not November.
Don't forget the dramas last year that saw the Germans part ways with Tina's personal coach, Dirk Matchens. Dirk now coaching the Russians, who are 1, 3, and 4. And Germany, well, the 4-time world champion is struggling in the teens, and the Olympic silver medalist is not in the race. Oh, 800s.
Experience. She got beat by 1800s at the start, Martin. She was tied, and Tina Hermann, she won't be happy.
There are 3 German sliders in the field, John. If they don't start to perform a little better, there may not be 3 German sliders in the Olympics.
I'm not worried about the German sliders. This lady here, Tina Hermann, she's going to finish 15th or something today. She won the pre-Olympic test in the Yangqing track. So, and Jacqueline Lowling, her teammate, was 4th. I just think the Germans have decided we're going to peak in February.
Next up, Kelly Curtis of the USA, tied with Hermann and with Zhao of China. And Kelly Curtis in her 3rd World Cup start.
Good story for the young athlete from Princeton, New Jersey. Went to Springfield College. She's in the Air Force. This might be the biggest heat of her competitive career on this circuit, or the lesser circuits, North America's Cup. She's won medals over there numerous occasions. Big mistake up between 3 and 4.
Yeah, 9th place finish last week was a fantastic World Cup personal best for her, but another little clip on the wall coming into the Kreisel.
1000s. Gonna need top 3 speed here. Pretty good exit, 4th. This is gonna be too close to call. And you know, it's not that.
Figuring her way out down here.
300, she could fall 2 places.
Yeah, Tina Hermann's going to lead, for Kelly Curtis doesn't have the consistency. 2nd place, 400s back.
Still, listen, she got beat by Tina Hermann. She'll be okay.
Yeah.
She's had a good 2 weeks here for Kelly Curtis.
Yes, she has. Well, she's learning all these European tracks really as well at this level. So Kelly Curtis, a great 2 weeks in Innsbruck.
Yeah, she can leave Innsbruck now. She's got to go to that big lady track over there in Altenburg. I hope she's been there before. She dragged her foot into number 8 there, into that snowbank. That was worthy of some time. Little late here, but didn't alter it too much. In fact, came pretty straight. Good result for Kelly Curtis for these 2 weeks.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for sliding. Without them, we wouldn't have anything to watch. So from Kelly Curtis to Jane Channel. And Jane had 100th of a second in hand over current leader Tina Hermann after the first heat. So again, looking at another very, very tight race. And to answer the question, Kelly Curtis has been to Altenburg twice, once in Europa Cup in January last year and in the Intercontinental Cup in January last year as well, the following week. In fact, 3 days later,
you can tell what Tina Hermann
is not thrilled, is she?
You can tell where she finished just looking on her forehead. She wears her results on her, you know, and Martin, she's won so much. She's got that attitude. Silver place is the first loser, and I like that competitive spirit.
Yep.
She is a competitor.
Well, she's also our current leader, but she's not really watching to see where she finishes because it's an underperforming fortnight for Tina Hermann and predominantly for the German team. We still have one German slider to come. Hannah Neiser only in 9th place after the first heat. She's the youngest of the trio, the least experienced, and she will be coming up shortly. So Jane Channel in this fantastic bun fight from Mimi Reneva, her teammate just ahead, down to Brogan Crowley. There was 11 hundredths of a second covering 7 sliders.
Good starter. Only
Yeah.
had the 7th best start in the first run, 5:31. He's usually the top 3 or 4 starters, so I'm surprised at that. 5:35 there, 400s. You know, she might be nursing a injury of some kind because she's, ooh, mistake. Right there out of curve 2. 3,500s lead.
Well, she's starting 2,300s quicker than Tina Hermann.
But she's already lost 500s back, Martin.
Yeah.
That's a sign that she's got the brakes on
sketchy.
someplace.
That's better, but not great.
Top 3 speed might be enough.
Well, Hermann makes all her money in the last 100 meters or 2. It's going to be close,
This is gonna be
not close enough. Tina Hermann or Jane Channel, it's neither, it is both.
Again.
There we go.
Weren't they already in a tie? No, Channel
No, she was 100th ahead of
100th
Tina
ahead.
after 1 heat and loses 100th in the second to give them a dead heat.
We had to have a
ahead
tie
of-
just to set things up, Martin. We
Yeah.
had to just
Well-
get a tie, get it over with and set it up.
Oh, we haven't
these
got them
lines.
over with yet, don't you worry.
Yeah.
Hermann
Look at
was in a
she's-
3-way tie. She's now in a 2-way tie with Jane.
I would bet they're not going to remain there, Martin. They might remain there for a couple sleds, but pretty good lines. You can
Yeah.
see the shades coming in now. Good friendship there. Good camaraderie in the sport.
Well, we always say it is you versus the mountain. It's not about what your rivals do. What they do can't affect what you do unless you let it get in your head. Next up, Mimi Reneva for Canada. Her advantage over Jane Channel was enormous, 11 hundredths of a second.
300.
Pardon, 200ths of a
100.
second over Jane, yeah.
100.
Yeah.
200. Yeah, 200.
I'm reading the wrong way.
Yeah. 5:45 start. 200 spurs. Clean so far. 2400s. You should grow that because Jane Channel made a mistake up there. 24 to 23. Mistake. 22. Lost a
Bench
couple
dead
there.
with the best speeds down at the bottom of the track here. Skidding.
Third best speed. She should have enough here, Martin. Yeah, she's got enough. She's going to take over the lead. Maybe single digits. Might be like 11 or 12.
17. She
Did well
held
at
on
the bottom.
well.
Yeah, she did well. Drove well. But she's a little naked without her start. She used to have a better start when she was very competitive in the 18-19 season.
Yeah.
She did much better, but last year she was off with injury.
Well, her last run down Innsbruck is an improvement, and that's always the way to leave it. Little mistake there, though, out of Omega.
Here, out of 9. Pretty quiet.
Yeah, big skid
Little
developing, though,
sideways
down
action
into
there.
10. Yeah.
Still had good speed on the bottom.
Katie Eulander, now she was 11 hundredths ahead of Mimi Reneva from the first heat in 10th spot.
Katie comes from a good sporting background. Her father, Ted Eulander, was the great second baseman for the Big Red Machine and the Cincinnati Reds in their era of winning, late 70s. And Kelly Curtis, who just came down, her father played in the NFL for 3 different teams. So, game on.
Chip off the old block. All right,
World
best
champion.
speed for Eulander. The gap is slender, though.
Yeah, but she's pulling away now. She's doing much better than she did last week when she finished 15th or 16th. This is a very competitive young lady right here. 17.
Best speed of all.
She's gonna move up. This is a good run.
Yeah,
2200,
20. Well, look,
32.
Could be top half dozen.
Boy,
yeah.
that's she's gonna move up. That's a great run. 54.
That's a top 6 run.
That's
That
definitely.
that is a top 6 run, and she knows it.
That's gonna be top 3, top 4 before the whole heat's over.
Yeah.
That's the Katie Eulander we know right there.
You're just pulling away all the way down the track.
That is a good time to find your form. And yet, look, still really digging in hard there to get the line she needed.
She's not a form glider, for sure. She's always had that different look with the feet apart. But, you know, the former world champion.
Nice doing
Yeah.
this week. Better runs.
Hard to argue with the results, isn't it? And what works, I mean, so much of this sport is so individual. What works for you doesn't work for anybody else necessarily. Katie Eulander leads with 9 sleds to go here in Innsbruck. So Laura Dees, who finished 20th last week, currently 11th out of our 11 sleds. Top of the track is Germany's Hannah Neiser. She's the youngest of the 3 at just 24 years of age. Youth Olympic Games silver medalist in 2016. That was here on this track. There's Mimi Reneva. Well, she may not have got a racing mojo back, but she's still got the smile on her face. And there's your race leader, Katie Eulander. So bitter enemies,
This young
obviously.
this young lady here with a very deficient start time, 21st. But if we go back to that competition they had at Yangqing a few weeks ago, she was second with the 21st best start time. Her teammate Tina Herman was first. And Martin, if they took it from the Kreisel down, I would say in the first run, this athlete here had the best time from the Kreisel down. She flew with this 21st best start time. She's going to need to fly again.
She started 800 slower than Tina Herman, came down 1800s quicker than the 4-time world champion. Hannah Neiser has got what it takes to drive.
And
5.62.
most everybody else is getting slower at the start. She just got 100 better, although it's not great start.
Yeah.
But look at her form. She is what you call a great glider. I like to
And
say
from the 11th best
queen.
start, she had the 8th best velocity. So she's doing something right at the start, and she's 3rd quickest into the Kreisel.
Yeah, I bet you she's first here out of 9. I don't want to jinx her.
Yeah.
2200s back. She's going to need to be first here. Oh, that's not good. 4th best speed. That just hurt her, that exit. I don't know if she's going to pull it off like she did. No, Martin, that exit of 9 got her.
She's going
Now
back.
she can fall back a couple spots.
3200s back is Mimi Reneva. She just avoids dropping back behind Mimi. 54.29, a fraction quicker than her first heat, but it was so good down to the Kreisel, and then exit Kreisel, exit 9. All of the key tripwires caught her out.
So you have to have, when you got a bad start time, not an average start time, but a bad, deficient start time like she's got, you got to be perfect every time down. You can't afford mistakes like this. She did not do this in the first run, Martin. In the first run, she was on a wire right down the speed part of the track.
Danke fürs Zuschauen.
So she lies second. Katie Eulander leads with 8 to go. Next up, second fastest starter and best hair in the field, Valentina Margarita of Italy. Let's see what she can produce here.
This is an athlete here making some strides for Italy. 5:21, 300 slower. Made some real critical driving mistakes, including up here at the top. Watch this next exit here of this Omega curve. She can keep it straight. This time she does. She's got almost 6/10 in the bank. You think she's no way she can't be the leader. Katie Eulander was unbelievable, but look at the speed this young Italian's got, Martin.
Quicker than Eulander.
This is a rising star for Italy. Fifth best speed. Here comes her inexperience.
Yeah.
Not enough, Martin. She'll be the leader, but how much? Ooh, she's late there. No,
It's going to be close,
to make
very
her
close. Oh, it's not that close. 53.98.
No.
Wow, second fastest trip of the entire competition.
Yeah,
That would have left her 500s
better.
ahead of Kimberly Boss in second in the first run.
Martin, she did not have a good first run. This is a rising star for Italy.
Well, listen, no one has gone quicker in the second heat than their first heat, but she has. Beg your pardon, Hannah Neiser did by 300s.
Yeah,
but
there's a couple others that
has.
went too. She's going to take that with her.
Yeah, rearrange everything. A medal for the first time in her World Cup career last week for Kim Marmans. Only 200s ahead of Valentina Margarita, but only 700s out of bronze, John. This is an enormously tight battle. 6 sleds fighting for medals.
600 slower than her first run. She gives up time at the start. She's in the middle of the pack at the start. In fact, I can't say that. She's the 5th best start. But much better starter than she used to be, Martin, and that's why she got on the podium last week. She's in the red now, but that's because the Italian had the superior start time. 2800s with no mistakes, that's doable to get to the green numbers.
Yep.
3200s,
That's growing.
Still bleeding. Gonna need top speed here. Doesn't have off the pace.
Of the German
Now
system.
the question is, she's gonna
How
fall a
far does
number of
she drop?
places here.
Well, Eulander is 3,400s back, so this should, at worst, be second for Kim Marmans. And at the line, it is second. Valentina Margarita leads with 5 to go. How high does she fly?
Well, last week a bronze medal, this week not,
Yep.
but still, great run.
Take that.
She definitely
Top
put it-
6 guaranteed. Or top 7 guaranteed.
Exit of 9. We're looking for a quiet exit of the curve, the outlet. That's as quiet as you get. I'll give her an A. Little skid there. I'd give her an A+. Didn't have the speed in the second run she had in the first run, Martin.
Yeah. She won't be needing the Belgian flag for the podium today. Another day, another dollar. Now then, 6 sleds remain, not 5. Valentina Margarita, the leader. We have a dead heat for 5th coming up next. So the Italian currently no worse than 7th here. And what about Megan Henry? 10th place last week for this 34-year-old soldier. Her 10th World Cup start today. Competed
Martin,
2
I think in
seasons
one of her
ago.
first World Cups, yeah, she won a medal.
She
in
has. Yeah. It was
Third
in
place,
Innsbruck.
I think, in
It was
November
here
18
2
or November
seasons ago.
19?
Yeah, November 19.
November 19. Yeah.
1920, the last season BC before COVID, was her first on the World Cup. Didn't make the World Cup team last year. But she is back with a bullet. Top 10 finish to start the year last week, and she could be potentially a medalist here. So let's do the numbers.
American University product, and she's a military athlete, Martin, and one of her biggest heats.
500ths of a second off bronze in the first heat. But she, Janine Flock, Elena Tararychenkova, and Yulia Kanakina are the 4 athletes covered by 500s, all aiming for 1 medal.
Game on.
Yeah. As you said, she has been on the podium here in Innsbruck before. Can she make it a 2nd World Cup medal here?
5:37 in the first run, 5:43. That That's going to put her in the red numbers against Margarita, who had a superior start, 5th best speed, which isn't bad. 3,700, she's got to stop the bleeding, maybe 40 hundredths at the next clock at the most. 45, that's not a good sign. 7th best speed.
All right. And Margarita was quite clean below the Kreisel, 4700s. Sort of stabilized the gap. But it's going to be tough to catch the Italian from here.
Yeah, I don't see her catching her. She's going to fall a couple places, Martin. She could fall behind her teammate, Katie Eulander. She's in a race with Eulander, who's going to be the best American sled out of here.
Oh, she is ahead of Katie by 200ths of a second.
Don't think that doesn't mean anything. The race within a race. If you want to emerge as the best American, have the best time, she just did.
And again, if the US only get 2 Olympic spots, John, then it's really important to be ranked well. But with the way they're going at the moment, they may end up earning the USA a 3rd Olympic spot. They are having a good start to the season.
Good lines here. Start time. She's the best American. She was the 2nd best American last week.
Next up for Austria, Janine Flock. 4600ths off the lead, tied with Megan Henry in 5th position, but 500ths away from a medal. Her last medal here was in race 2 last December. She won here in 2018 and 19 as well. Beg your pardon, she was
300 slower, in January. With a serious 18 start time in the first run, but she is the queen of speed on this track. If there's anybody can overcome a 5,300 deficit, it's Janine Flock. But she needs to be perfect, Mark. 56. Now she can't bleed any more time. She cannot bleed any more time.
200s in hand over Valentina Margarita from the first heat.
Little drift, best speed, here she goes. She's gonna need that Austrian shortcut. 41, not gonna do it. There's no way she can find 4100.
Valentina Margarita will lead with 4 to go. Wow, and she drops another couple of spots. Same time exactly as Megan Henry, so they remain tied for 3rd place. They set exactly identical times in the first heat and in the second heat. Janine Flock and Megan Henry tied for 3rd with 4 to go.
Drifts to the wrong side over here. See her, she's coming to the wrong side. That means she's got to cross over again on the takedown of the next curve, which puts a lot of pressure. Pressure is friction. She knows. She knows it's her home track.
Valentina Margarita leads. Another Scrabble multi-word score next. Elena Tararechenkova. 4th place last week, 4th place after the first heat, 100th out of the medals. Is this going to be a Russian sweep at the podium?
5:30 in the first run, 5:31. Most everybody else is 3, 4, 500 slower. She's only 100 slower. Martin, she's really been coming on. 4th at the World Championships. And she had 7th over there in the Yanqing track 3 weeks ago. And she was 4th in last week's race. So this young Russian athlete's making a statement to be the top, the 2nd best Russian athlete.
Just 21 years old, she made her World Cup debut at 17, but has only done a handful of races.
This is not looking good. 9th best speed.
No.
Martin, she's going to fall back a number of spots.
Margarita is 1 slider away from a World Cup medal. Tararechenkova is going to drop to 2nd.
Only 1. Look at that.
There's Kim Marmans. Kim is currently in 3rd. Valentina leads.
I love personal best to see Margarita.
Goodness.
I tell you, she is the most impressive new slider on the block.
21-year-old 100-meter hurdler from Moscow, Elena Tararechenkova.
Not happy.
No, but
it's not over yet.
Amen to that.
strap. She's got to get that strap taken care of, Martin. There's a hundredth someplace, couple hundredths, and we all know what hundredths of seconds mean on this track. The lines there are perfect. Can't fault those lines.
She can start and she can drive. She needs experience, and that's it. And that is it. And then she will be the real deal. Valentina Margarita leads for Italy.
What a
3 to go. Well, last week we had a first ever World Cup medal in women's skeleton for Belgium. Have we had one for Italy?
I don't know if Italy's ever won one.
I'm now racking my brains.
I don't think they've ever won one in women's skeleton.
All 3 remaining sliders have won medals in the World Cup before. Eulander has won 1. She is perhaps the best chance for Valentina Margarita.
She gets a good start.
Yeah, she gets a great start.
But her issue is in her career, Martin, with all these great starts, is she has a hard time putting 2 heats together. And she's going to have to do it here because the Italian at the bottom, Margarita, she had a good run. Much better run in the second than the first. If she had 2 runs like she had in the second, she'd be challenging up here for the silver or gold.
Well, how much easier is it for the headspace when you're 8th and already on a personal best to get another good run out, or close to a personal best, than when you're trying to hang on to a medal? That's a really different pressure to hang on to this podium, maybe to try and fight your way up to 2nd, but crucially to hang on to the skid.
5:23 to a 5:24. Watch the velocity though. Second best start time, and it's the second best velocity, so she gets through that test. Now, no mistakes up here at all. She's only got 100th in the bank. You know, she's not that great of a slider. She's red numbers.
There's only 900s in it from the first heat, John, and she's only got the 12th best speed.
This is what she does. She just isn't consistent from heat to heat. But she stopped the bleeding, 12 to 12.
Can she come back? Good lines out of 9.
Oh,
speed is woeful low. 2 kilometers an hour down. Well, Tararichenko is 1200s back. She may not be the 2nd place Russian. 1500s, Margarita is in the medals. Valentina Margarita is in the medals. And Eulander is 3rd with 2 to go. She needs a Hail Mary.
If you would have told me that the Italians are going to prevent the Russians from a sweep, Martin, I might have bet my house. It's unbelievable, that leaderboard. Wow.
It's normally not until after the games when all these young names get a chance, because the most experienced sliders retire. Kimberly Boss leads. Oh, I beg your pardon, Valentina Margarita leads with 2 to go. Kimberly Boss next up. The biggest margin we've seen so far over the Italian. And this is a woman who has taken a silver medal just 7 days ago, and also in December last year.
40 at the first heat, 37. The only athlete that improves to start.
In her last 3 races on this track, John, she has not been off the podium.
Martin, this looks like a little bit of a lighter athlete than we've seen in the past. The medal last year was astonishing.
Definitely a lot fitter. Remember the last pre-COVID season, she could barely walk some weekends. Now, Kimberly Boss, 2 silvers and a bronze in 3 races here. Is it possible that she could take gold? We've seen some crazy stuff today.
5th best time.
Only 5th best speed.
900.
It's going to be close.
Look out.
A dead heat. Come on, neither deserve to lose. Give us a heat. Oh,
wow, what'd she do in the bottom? How did she get that much speed on the bottom?
I'm sorry, okay, the Austrians have a shortcut. The Dutch have got a wormhole. Well, don't injure yourself falling over on the ice.
What a start to the season for this athlete.
Whoa.
But
I mean,
she
hang
was
on a
sort of
minute.
hanging in there with the fifth
Yeah,
best time. We talk about
500s.
this. How does she go from 900s, where she looks like she's losing time, and then she's 2500s? That's that Austrian shortcut that she must have bought a ticket on.
She's got a wormhole of all of her own. Wow. Okay, Dutch guys in the truck, calm down. Come on, we can't be having heart attacks in the first, second weekend. Next up, Elena Nikita of Russia. Winner last week. She has 5 wins on this track. Is this win number 6? Her lead, 2300s, John.
And with that 5:18 start, that lead's going to be like 3500s at this next clock.
Well, it's 42 as she lies down. It should be getting close to 6/10. She's got good velocity, half a second up.
But Martin, there's been some times where we've seen her be pretty sloppy with her runs, but she's got a half-second lead down to 44. Sixth best speed. There's still gremlins on this track that could throw this away for her.
Yeah. Well, she better be 2500s up or 3000s up at the penultimate clock, because we know
11th.
Kimberly Boss has got great speed at the bottom, but it's going to be Elena Nikita who wins this. Surely the Russian is going to take her 6th win in Innsbruck. She does. Victory for Elena Nikita, silver medal for Kimberly Boss, and the bronze, the first ever in her career, and we think ever for Italy in skeleton, goes to Valentina Margarita, but it is win number 6 in Innsbruck for Elena Nikita.
Wow.
Who is right? Talk about pressure. And John, from unexpected quarters as well.
One stat for you. There was, how many did I say, Asian sleds in the top 8? 5 Asian sleds in the top 8 in the men's event. The first Asian here is not until 15.
Yeah.
Different for the men and the women with the Asians' presence in the sport. The Russians, well, they got a little firm hold here. 3 of the top 4. 5.
Yeah.
Russians.
And the top German slider, Hannah Neiser in 10th. They get points for her, and Tina Herman in 12th. So the Russians comprehensively outscoring them.
The Russians had 3 of the top 4 positions. They had the first, third, and 4th best start times.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Kimberly Boss is the outlier with the 11th best start, and Valentina Margarita, 2nd quickest starter in the field, comes through to take the bronze medal. What a red letter day for the Italian. And Elena Nikita, last week's winner, nearly put it out of reach in the first heat, but then the gap came back down and she hung on to win by 0.2 of a second from Kimberly Boss. Well, the fastest run in the race, in the second heat rather, was Valentina Margarita by a mile.
Really?
And she is now up to 3rd in the points. Kimberly Boss with 2 silvers is 2nd. Elena Nikita with 2 wins. She is our points leader. And look at the US. Kelly Curtis, Katie Eulander, 11th and 12th place. Good start to the season for them. Megan Henry firmly in the top 10. So all 3 US sliders scoring strongly. The Germans having a bit of a disaster here in Innsbruck. But next time we go on to Altenburg and then to Winterberg. We have more German races to come. Elena Nikita, however, in the form she's in right now, the World Cup leader, could well be doing it all again. Well, that is it for Friday and skeleton in Innsbruck. Saturday morning women's monobob, 10 local, 9 GMT kicks off the action with 2-man in the afternoon, and then a women's bobsleigh and 4-man on Sunday. From the IBS TV crew, for John Morgan, I'm Martin Haven saying thank you for being with us. We will see you tomorrow for lots more action.